tonight's virtual meeting of the City of Kalamazoo Planning Commission meeting on December 2nd, 2021. Can we get a roll call?
Burgess. Present. You were on mute.
Yes, here in Kalamazoo.
Thank you. Chambers.
Here in Kalamazoo.
Harrison.
Present in the City of Kalamazoo.
Milliken.
Present in Kalamazoo.
Phelps. Not yet here. Patelko.
Present in Kalamazoo.
Pitts.
Present in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Thank you. Swan.
Present in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
And Bias is not here this evening.
Great, thank you very much. We were sent an agenda for tonight's meeting. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Just a clarification under discussion and action items for the capital improvements plan. I think the original agenda had the wrong number. It's been corrected online as of today, but it's 2021.18. I think it was 17 on your original agenda.
Okay. Thank you for that. With that adjustment, can I get a motion to approve the amended agenda, please? I see a signal by Burgess. Is there support or a second? Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Chambers. All in favor of the motion, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any against? Same sign. All right, great. We have an agenda. We also were sent minutes from the November 4th, 2021 meeting. Were there any questions, comments, changes about these minutes? Didn't see any. Excellent. Can I get a motion to approve the November 4th, 2021 minutes of the Planning Commission meeting? All right, we got a motion by Patelko. Do we have a second?
I will second the motion.
Second by Burgess. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Any and all opposed? Same sign. Great. Minutes are approved. Any communications or announcements?
Yeah, I believe this will be our last virtual meeting. The plan is to go back in person at the beginning of the year. That could change, right? But that is the plan right now. If any commissioners have questions or concerns, please reach out to Pete or I as soon as possible so we can answer any of your questions or make any adjustments that we might need.
The only question I would have, would there be any, at this time, as we sit here today, are there any protocols involved with in-person meetings?
Not that I am prepared to list today. I think that staff is still working on it. Commission chambers has been adjusted. There's plexiglass in between your stations. I will not sit on the dais to make sure that each of you have your own microphone and then your own little space. And the rest of the rules we'll have to share with you as it gets a little bit closer. The other thing that's still being worked out is though we will be in person and we are encouraging folks to attend meetings in person, it's still under consideration to allow phone call-in comments for a period of time after once we go back to in-person as a transition. And for those that may not be comfortable or can't come to a meeting for whatever reason. So that is still being worked out, but just know that that may occur. It would not be the recorded calls that we have now. It would actually be people queuing up to give their few minutes. And then, kind of the next caller will be queued up. So more on that to come, but, please plan in January that we will be in person.
All right. That's a great update. That's January 6th, but we'll talk about that later on in the meeting. So thank you. Good announcement. Any other announcements? Okay. Excellent. We have no public hearings on the agenda, so we'll move right into discussion. Action item number 1 is PC 2021.18, the 2022 Capital Improvement Plan, which is a request by the Community Planning and Economic Development Department to review the 2022 CIP.
And before Director Baker introduces himself and speaks on it, I just wanted to let the chair know that Commissioner Phelps has joined us. And it'll be noted in the attendance. Okay, Director Baker, you have the floor.
Thank you, Planner Anderson. Good evening, everybody. Planning Commission members, thank you for having me. My name is James Baker. I am the City of Kalamazoo Public Services Director and City Engineer. If I may, I'm going to share my screen and just a second here while I transition over. Everybody should see presentation document. So again, thank you. I'm going to kind of go through the capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2022. That's next year. And just some general background, I'm going to be talking about these plans and just some high level detail, kind of walk through the plans for general fund, major streets, local streets, water and wastewater. And just so for some background information, we talk a lot about like the CIP plan or the capital improvement plan of the city, but that is broken out into many different funds. And some of these funds, such like water and wastewater, have specific requirements or enterprise funds. And so only water and sewer rates can pay for water and wastewater projects. Same thing with streets, for example, those are funded by Act 51. Depending on what the department is, there may be funding limitations or reasons why, those type of projects exist within those departments by specific breakdown. And so just give you some general understanding of what types of projects you would see within what we call general fund CIP. Those would be improvements at the parks, facility improvements around the various buildings and facilities that the city owns. There's IT infrastructure, pretty substantial IT infrastructure that helps support all that. Also things like public safety stations. There's many public safety stations that they operate out of, and those stations need to get built new. For example, Station 2, and there's also upgrades that go on there. Also heavy equipment, things like big trucks, dump trucks, street sweepers, that sort of thing are purchased out of the general fund. Moving into MST and LST streets funds, that stands for major streets and local streets. So there's an Act 51 requirement breakdown between those two funds, and essentially major streets, those are kind of your bigger, busier streets, and local streets, those are our neighborhood streets. Those are the local small volume streets within the neighborhoods. And just kind of talk through what we're looking to do. We're looking to improve safety and operating conditions, incorporate neighborhood plans and some IK 2025 insight into that, and kind of going into some detail there. Stormwater improvements are also a function of streets projects. Water and wastewater, again, this is just continued investment in your water and wastewater infrastructure. Giving you just some visual perspective of what the investment looks like by fund. These are bar charts. The numbers might be a little small there, hard to see, but we're just kind of showing a rounded off figure. You got about $9.4 million of investment planned within the general fund. You got about $13.7 million planned within the major streets. You got about $1.6 million planned within local streets. About $39 million planned within the water department, and about $17.7 million within wastewater. So going into some specifics on general funds and projects that you'll see. Again, I'm not going to go into all the detail of the projects. I believe you have those available to you. They're also part of the proposed budget package that went to City Commission, and they'll actually have line item by line item projects that go in and detail everything. But just give you some high level information on stuff. We've got the farmers market redevelopment. That project is going to continue on into 2022. We've got just some facilities improvements, radio and IT equipment upgrades. They'll be purchasing things like street sweepers and a dump truck. And then there's a pretty substantial portion of that capital improvement fund is for station number 2, that new public safety station in the Edison neighborhood. Looking at some of our major and local streets, we've really increased the amount of local streets that we're able to deliver new and improved pavement services on. That could be a chip seal with a fog seal overlay. That could be a mill and overlay, but we're going to be out touching and improving 33 local streets this year in 2022. So that's pretty substantial impact. Some of our major streets, not all of them, but just some of the ones that we're going to talk about are Parkview. That's a project, a reconstruction project going from Oakland Drive to Tansman. That was a project that actually was awarded this year in 2021. We encountered some material shortages and some impacts that were substantial to the construction schedule. So we held that project. We're going to deliver that project in 2022. Stadium Drive is going to undergo a pretty substantial reconstruct from Rambling to Lovell. Miller Drive, a portion of that was already done this year. Portage to Emerald was completed this year, and then we're going to carry that project on, move from Emerald to Sprinkle. Angling Road is going to receive 2 new culverts. Those are going to be pretty large structures. It probably look more like bridges to most people. They're about 19 feet. The east structure is about 19 feet across, and the west structure is about 4.5 feet across. So that's more of a smaller one, but that's going to be a pretty major project there. Work is going to start with the Ransom Northside Cultural Business District. So that's a pretty substantial project that's going to partner with the Wastewater Division on a large sewer interceptor replacement. So the design work is going to start in 2022, and that project is going to be pretty substantial. And Patterson Bridge, the Patterson Bridge is going to be reconstructed this year. So that's going to be pretty impactful. Again, there's more streets out there that the work is going to occur on. There's more projects. And if you've got any specific questions about streets or where a street project might line in, take a look at that MST, LST streets line item detail. Talking about the wastewater division, the improvements that we're conducting there. We've got our last year of the solids handling process upgrade, where we're bringing in centrifuges to replace belt filter presses. It's essentially the process that handles the solids end of the spectrum and processes that, really with the goal of reducing the amount of wet tons hauled out to the landfill. We'll be starting the tertiary process upgrade. In fact, a major portion of that project is going to go to the City Commission here in December to award that work, so that work can start in 2022. That tertiary project is essentially one of the last treatment unit trains within the treatment plant. So within the treatment plant, we have preliminary treatment, primary treatment, secondary treatment, and tertiary treatment. We'll also be doing a lot of work coordinating with township streets and with the road commission. Well, anytime a township streets kind of resurface, we'll redo that manhole structure. We also do that in City of Kalamazoo, but we partner with the road commission to perform that service in the township as well. And there'd be a lot of sewer lining work that kind of occurs all throughout the city that helps to just renew the life of the sewer infrastructure. And then odor control upgrades will continue at the treatment plant. We've been doing those along about a 2-year process now, and additional work on the biofilter phase of work will begin. On the drinking water system, we've got kind of 5 major focus areas, if you will. We've got the lead service line replacements, an ongoing program. We're talking about that twice because we're going to talk specifically about the North Kalamazoo lead service line replacement project. Treatment plant station improvements. You know, we talked about there's 16 stations, 13 of which are operational, used and useful to support the water system. And in support of those 13 stations, we've got 93 wells. You know, those all have well houses, structures around them. So there's a lot of specific facility upgrade type things that have to occur at these stations. System reliability improvements. You know, some of the things we're talking about there would be like cast iron main, water main replacement, looking to close loops, transmission main replacement. And we look to coordinate those projects with some of those major street projects. So when we talked about Parkview over there on the major street side, we're also going to be doing some water main replacement. Corrosion control optimization. That's a process where we're looking to enhance or improve the corrosion control system that's already in place. And so that work is ongoing. We're moving to the next phase of testing, actually going to do some kind of in-station testing that will help inform our final phosphate selection. And then ultimately we'll be looking to install some updated automated equipment and pumps to control that. And our North Kalamazoo lead service line replacement project. This is a pretty large project. We applied for drinking water revolving loan fund funding through Eagle. We did receive a $5 million grant to help with that project, although we did not receive full funding amount for that project. So we're actually going to start the project next year with the $5 million that we were awarded from Eagle. And then we are going to resubmit our application for additional funding phasing into 2023, which was in line with the way the project was already kind of designed to go anyway. This lets me click on the link here. I don't know if I can. Well, I think that's about it. I was going to click on the link there and show you some progress with lead service line replacement in the city. If folks are interested in doing that, you can go to citykalamazoo.org/lead, and you can see our interactive map that displays lead service line replacement in the city of Kalamazoo and kind of shows current project areas. We're in east side right now, and we're going to conclude that probably in about spring of 22. And then we'll be moving to north side for the North Kalamazoo lead project. I've stopped sharing now and to be happy to take any questions or comments.
It's great. Thank you for the presentation. Mr. Burgess, you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Baker, at the beginning of your presentation, you had a quick bar chart showing how the funds you're allocating for the different funds. And just a question, you had a balance there where the water fund had a great deal more than most of the others. And I think number 2 was Main Streets. My question is that a fairly normal distribution? Is that typical over the years, or is this different than usual? Or is this due to lead service line replacement? Is that a typical balance?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. I'm sharing that slide again, if everyone can see it, just so we can have that in front of us as we talk through it. So you highlighted, certainly a great point. There is an obvious increase in investment in both, drinking water and wastewater funds. That investment is supported by ratepayers of the system. So when you pay your water bill, you're helping to support that work. Those funds also, have state dollars and things of that nature, but there has been a substantial need to increase investment within the water system, and some of that is certainly impactful for lead service line replacements. If we're on pace right now to replace all of the lead service lines in the city of Kalamazoo, we've got kind of a target date to have that completed by 2037. That need, if we were to capture kind of what that need is in today's dollars, that would be, going forward in today's dollars, about $70 million. And we're going to be working on that from now through 2037, given our current pace. There's also needs for station improvements, water quality improvements, things of that nature. So these are items that the city's identified, worked with Eagle on prioritizing schedules and work priorities. But that is correct. There is increased need for investment within the drinking water utility as well as the wastewater utility, and you're seeing in that investment in front of you.
Thank you. I did have one other question, if I may. When it comes to the roads, many years ago, I heard a presentation from the County Road Commission, or the Road Commission of Kalamazoo County, about their asset management system, where they keep track of the status of all the roads and kind of schedule regular work on certain ones so that they catch any of them before they get to such disrepair that they have really extremely costly repairs to have to do. Does the city do the same sort of thing?
Yes, thank you. That's a great question. The city has what's referred to as a transportation asset management plan. That document was provided to the city commission this fall. I can't quite recall off the top of my head what date that is. We could look that up and make that available. But the city of Kalamazoo's transportation asset management plan is focused on some of the very things you're talking about. Kind of looking at the PASER rating of our streets over time, and looking at how we can better invest to prolong essentially that pavement life cycle. And that's some work that we've been doing and kind of over the years to put that plan together. Is through that work, we've identified that if you can make a street last longer in time, essentially if you can extend that life cycle, you can kind of minimize the cost inputs that are going to have to go into that. So you're trying to prevent that failure curve. You're trying to extend that out as long as possible. And what we've identified as a method that to help with that is coming in and spending some time and some dollars on some streets when they're in a PASER condition of like a 6 or a 7. These are numerical values. 10 is the best, 1 is the worst. But it's instead of just letting it go from 10 at its best condition all the way down to worse and then come out and fix it, if we spend some dollars in investment when it's a 6 or a 7, we can prolong that life cycle. And so we've got that incorporated into the capital plan, and you see that mainly with the use of what we call the urban seal coat, which is a layer of tar that goes down, then the rocks over top, and then tar back over top of that. What we're trying to do is seal in the road. We're sealing in, preventing water damage from making those cracks worse in the road, and we're providing a little bit of a wearing surface on top of that. And that really is a goal to extend that street life cycle.
Thank you. That answers my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent. Yes, Mr. Harrison.
So I have a couple of questions, two kind of questions. One was just about, I saw that Station 3 was located for the firehouse, and just not familiar with what neighborhood or where that would be, or how I would find out which station that would be. Can you provide information for that, for the one that the capital improvement would be going towards?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Harrison. That would be Station 2, Public Safety Station number 2, and that's on Alcott Street, and that's in the Edison neighborhood, and that is currently under construction.
Thank you for that. And I think my second question is just, which kind of goes with the previous question, is how were some of these priorities determined for, which we will focus on more this year based off of what the budget number was? And then what was the communication process, or will be the communication process of these projects to the communities that they're happening in?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. So that's when you're looking broadly across CIP and applying that question to every project, that it is very unique to what the project is. So something like farmers market redevelopment or Public Safety Station number 2, that's going to have a tremendous need for, community involvement and communication. And a lot of that community involvement and communication has been occurring over the last 3 to 5 years. Some things like optimized corrosion control at the drinking water stations. There's going to be probably less front-end communication with the community, about basically what are the technical specifications and needs for that. And there's probably going to be some additional back-end communication with community members. So a lot of what the capital program is based within is kind of the focus areas of IK 2025. I would say, when we get into the specifics of the drinking water system or wastewater system, those are more regulatory compliance, and those are more, designed to meet the needs of citizens through level service inputs, through water quality, or through regulations such as requirement to replace lead service lines. Looking at specific street projects like Stadium Drive, there's been a lot of communication with stakeholders dating back to the original planning and environmental linkage study, or the PEL study, that the city kicked off back in 2014 or 14 or 15, I believe. So some of these projects that we see now may have been many years in the making, and some of them more in the drinking water side of the house, or a lot of that communication comes as we're implementing the projects as well. So thank you for that question.
Mr. Patelko.
I had a question just on the list of the fund sources. The bonding and FFE are fairly self-explanatory, but I'm sort of curious what the jurisdictional transfer entails.
Uh-oh,
Oh,
No,
you may have
you
frozen.
stumped him. Oh, boy.
Let's give him a moment to see if he is able to join us again.
At least it's not only me all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, there he is.
Sorry about that. Looks like I dropped out for a second there. So I don't know if any of my response about the jurisdictional transfer, if any of that was heard. Okay, so I apologize. So the jurisdictional transfer dollars, those are funds that are used on streets that were previously under MDOT operation and control. So a couple of years ago, the city of Kalamazoo was able to kind of take local control back over some of those streets. And when that local control took back over, the city was given funding to complete projects on those street specific. So that jurisdictional transfer dollars can only be used on those projects that are formerly MDOT streets.
thank you.
Any other questions? Or what other questions? Not any other. What other questions do people have? 2 questions for me. The Stadium Drive work. It looks like that stops at Lovell, and I always get some of the road names confused. That is short of the, for lack of a better term, the Spaghetti Bowl up there with Oakland and Stadium and all that. Is that accurate?
That is correct. So that work does stop short of kind of the next phase of work that would be incorporated with, some of the two-way conversion work that would come in future years.
Okay. So this phase is pretty straightforward, just redoing it, not a whole lot of redesign work incorporated into this project.
There is some change. There was a lot of community input and stakeholder input on what could that area look like. Certainly there's still a need to move traffic, but there are improvements to enhance pedestrian safety and to kind of soften, soften the blow of the roadway, if you will. I mean, that roadway section, originally served as US 12 before I-94 was put through, and subsequently served as Business Loop 94. And although there's certainly continues to be traffic demands that are, moving high volume traffic within the area, we also have high volume pedestrian demands. And so you saw, right when that ownership change occurred, I don't know if anybody noticed a dramatic change in lighting intensity. And so that's one of the first things the city acted upon, was that under city ownership, we were able to respond and really increase the luminosity of lighting within that corridor. The next phase that you'll see under construction that we're talking about here next year is, actual pedestrian improvements to enable pedestrian movements within the corridor. And there'll be a planted median that's going to help to soften that roadway. Best example could potentially be Howard Street. I might look to the city planner, maybe for a comment. I'm an engineer, and maybe I'm not good at comparing what things might look like.
So two things. So Director Baker is correct on the first point with the pedestrian path. There'll be a shared use path that connects from the Howard path and extends along the railroad track property, moving towards downtown. And so that, will be an 8-foot wide path available for cyclists and pedestrians. The landscape median, the one on Howard is grass. I shouldn't say just grass, but it's kind of standard grass. I believe that the median being proposed has a bit more landscaping in it, scattered trees and some other plantings.
Fantastic. That's great work. Thank you for doing that. There's the center turn lane goes for about a mile, and I used to use that and would pull into that center turn line about a mile from Howard. And I once got pulled over for using that and my argument was there's no driveways. Who else is gonna use this? Well, that median will correct that mistake. So thank you. My second question, you raised the one-way thing, so I'll vibe off of that. I see a couple of the target roads on here for later on in the 5-year CIP. Are those funds dedicated towards potential conversion projects later on in the future?
So there has been a lot of planning and engineering work that's going into, essentially what we call the two-way conversion projects. And you'll see those in future years, that the funding that is identified currently isn't all inclusive to complete, essentially the full scope of the two-way conversion project. There's a lot of work going on within engineering and within the planning department to identify future sources and uses, and that's occurring. So the project is moving swiftly forward, and the out years are getting populated with funding figures and everything like that. I would just caution you at this point, if you look at an out year and say, okay, that's what it costs for two-way conversion, because there's going to be additional dollars that are going into that as those additional sources and uses are identified.
It's just good to see that that work is happening and the planning is beginning to be looked at, and funds are beginning to be dedicated to that project. It's no longer just a dream. It's really beginning to come to fruition. So excellent. Any other questions on this? Planner Anderson, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but just for background for all the new members, why we have this conversation is an element of state law. The Planning Commission is required to review the capital improvement plan every year, principally because we are the keepers of the master plan. And so we review this and sort of give our blessing on the capital improvement plan to confirm its compliance with the master plan. And so if we look at this and see anything that doesn't really jibe with the master plan, then this is our chance to raise that issue and let the staff and the city know about that. But otherwise, it's our chance to put our stamp on it and say, go forth and commence with these projects. Because this is a key, like the zoning ordinance, this is another key implementation element of the master plan. And I'm assuming, I believe we are what is the formal motion? It's not a recommendation. Is it an approval?
It's a recommendation to the city commission to approve to formally approve
Alright.
the CIP as part of the budget process.
There we go. So absent any other questions or comments, and I'm looking around the board here, I'll be looking for a motion to recommend approval to the city commission of the 2022 capital improvement plan. I see a motion by Burgess. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Chambers. Is there any discussion on the motion? We had a lot of discussion, but Burgess? Yep.
I don't feel a need to repeat what's already been said in great detail. I think the capital improvement plan is consistent with the goals of the master plan and seems to be, diving down into the granular parts of it and doing what it's supposed to do. So I therefore hope we will support that.
Excellent. Any other discussion? I'm always impressed by the breadth of work we do and the details, and I'm hopeful that next year brings us the resources we need to get all this done. So seeing that, can we get a roll call vote?
Burgess,
Yes.
Chambers,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Milliken.
Yes.
Phelps,
Yes.
Patelko,
Yes.
Pitts,
Yes.
Swan,
Yes.
and motion passes.
Great. Thank you all. Thanks for the presentation. Next up, city planners report.
So good evening. What we're going to do tonight is our also annual presentation to you of the birthday presentation for Imagine Kalamazoo. You'll remember that master plan was completed after and approved in 2017 along with the strategic vision after a lengthy engagement process known as Imagine Kalamazoo. And every year since then, we have paused to take a look at that master plan to see what we've been, what have we accomplished? What is ongoing? What hasn't started? What do we need to do next year to, move the ongoing items to completion or the not yet started to another category? And so we take time out of Plan Commission every year as well as City Commission to do this presentation. This will be presented to the City Commission on the 20th of December, and we'll probably include more voices than just me because this work goes well beyond just community planning and economic development. But tonight you just get me. And so, I'll be able to give you information on a lot of the activities and programs that are associated. But if you want more in-depth detail on anything, I can connect you with the staff member that's in charge of that, that specific activity. So with that, if you give me a moment, I will share my screen. Hopefully. Can everybody see that? Okay, great. So, something else to say, we do have a lot of new members. I did not do a whole bunch of slides on Imagine Kalamazoo because I think most of you have seen it before. If you have not and are interested, I am happy to do that at a future meeting, or we can do it in a phone conversation. We do this because we spent a lot of time creating plan documents, and the goal of creating those documents was to use them to guide our work as staff. And so this is kind of a recognition of what we've done and a look forward to what we need to do in order to continue to meet the vision that the community laid out for us as kind of codified in our strategic vision document and our master plan. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is where we are. What have we done in the master plan? Of course, everything is organized by the strategic vision goals because all documents align and kind of speak to each other. And so what the goals that are in the master plan, the action plans that are in the master plan all align with the larger strategic vision goals. And so that's how they're organized. Also quickly touch on just a couple of projects that will be coming forward in 2022. So again, just as a quick reminder, Imagine Kalamazoo, the community input, best practices, our partners, all of those things informed our strategic vision document, which are the 10 overarching goals, about 30,000 feet up, kind of broad goals that guide the city's work. The master plan, is organized with its task to make sure that's achieving the community vision as outlined in the strategic vision. And then all of our sub-plans, neighborhood plans, the housing urban development plan, Parks and Rec plan, our shorter lifespan plans, are all tied into that engagement that we heard from Imagine Kalamazoo and that continuous community conversation. And so it kind of looks like this, right? If you're going top down, the strategic vision is always our umbrella document. The master plan is something that will last for 10 years or just under. And everything that's in it aligns above and all the subplans align to it. And then going down to even more granular level, our budgets that we look at on an annual basis, including what Director Baker just presented to us, all line together. And only when you do all of these things can you actually start to ensure that you are using the document and the vision statements of the community in a very thoughtful way. And it's a way to ensure that progress is made in those plans. And so that's what we're going to talk about first. So the original master plan document had 136 actions and was tied with 8 of the 10 strategic vision goals. And we said that the plan was going to last about 8 years. I do say the original 136 original actions, because since the time of approval, we have added neighborhood plans into those with its own set of goals. Goals have kind of collapsed into each other as projects were done, but we tried to talk about this according to the original list of goals from the 2017 document. And the great news is 4 years in, we're more than 50% complete, right? We have really, because of our alignment, because of how we do our budgeting, again, the conversation we just had with Director Baker, because all those things align, we have been able to move these projects forward. And, this is pretty exciting. I don't know how many cities, if I can toot our horn, have birthday parties for their master plan. We had cake one year, had a unicorn on it. And I don't know how many cities, pause to say, where are we? What's left? What do we need to do to change direction to make sure that we're meeting these goals? So I think Kalamazoo is pretty unique in that. So what I'm going to do now is talk about what has happened this year to kind of boost this complete number up. And again, always organized by strategic vision goals. So the first one we're going to talk about are complete neighborhoods. These are residential areas that support the full range of people's daily needs. So we're going to talk about infill housing first. 13 individual new houses were built in 2021, and we are in progress with creating a set of pre-approved housing plans. These are architectural plans that are essentially ready to go. They just need to be tied to a lot, which, then some minimal engineering for the foundation will need to be done. And this will help increase the rate of infill housing in the community, as well as different types of housing. And so some of the pre-approved plans include accessory dwelling units, duplexes, and small single-family homes, and we'll be looking at other models in the future. With each of these slides, you will see the little detail about what was done. And then you'll also have a list here too of the master plan action item associated with this goal. And we can make this PowerPoint available to you to review in more detail if you would like. So our second item in complete neighborhoods are the zoning updates that you all are familiar with. This year, we did zoning updates following neighborhood plan work in the east side and north side neighborhoods. It was a second round of zoning updates for the north side neighborhood. Again, the goals of these were to align zoning with the master plan and the neighborhood plans and to remove barriers for infill development and on the north side particularly for additional housing. Kalamazoo Roots was a program that was initiated this year and was so successful, working on doing it again next year. And it was a free container garden course that we partnered with a few neighborhoods to do. Participants receive seedlings, materials to support their growth, and then classes on how to support their growing garden. About 100 garden kits were distributed. And again, something that was well received, and we're looking forward to doing it again next year. In environmental responsibility, a green and healthy city, we continue our work on increasing the tree canopy. In 2021, about 300 new trees were planted. And the tree inventory was complete. And this tree inventory is super important to us because, we have a goal to increase our tree canopy and increase our plantings. And so what the inventory did was allowed us to understand how many trees we have in our public spaces, what condition they're in, how many available planting spots we have, and allow us to kind of target our work by mapping it in according to neighborhoods. So you will continue to see, this highlighted every year. Having street trees has both an economic benefit as well as a property value benefit. So it's something that's important and a program that will continue for years to come. Tire Blitz. So earlier this fall, about 3,700 tires were collected for recycling. Way more than we expected to receive. It was incredibly successful. And again, something that we hope to do in future years. And then finally, again, something that you are all familiar with, Natural Features Protection Phase 2 was approved this year, which added about 1,400 parcels to NFP protection. And so those are 3 major zoning projects just from this year alone. East Side neighborhood, North Side neighborhood, and NFP that came through you and have had pretty major impacts in our community. Under the Economic Vitality Strategic Vision Goal, focusing on growing businesses and stabilizing the local economy to benefit all. Almost $750,000 were invested to start or grow 24 small businesses within our community. 10 grants of $25,000 were given out in 2021 for storefront improvements. Several of them, if not all of them, were in the East Side neighborhood. And worked with the East Side Neighborhood Association and the business owners and the American Institute of Architects volunteered staff to help do some of the redesign work. In the Connected City Strategic Vision Goal, again, that's a city that is networked for walking, biking, riding, and driving. We added 4.1 center line miles of new bike lanes. So that's not counting each direction. That's just counting, the roadway itself. And included 1.2 miles of shared use paths around the city. 9.6 miles of sidewalk repaired in 2021, and about 3/4 of a mile of new sidewalk. And we have, there are lots of pictures that we could have showed you. This is just a nice demonstration of the shared use path that is along Howard, north of Stadium Drive. Director Baker talked about the Stadium Drive reconstruction project that's going to happen. So if you were to walk down this sidewalk and go left on Stadium Drive this time next year, hopefully, there'll be a shared use path, nice wide path for you to follow, headed towards downtown. But the sidewalk work was distributed throughout the city, throughout the neighborhoods, both the repair and the replace. As it relates to safe communities, creating a safe environment for living, working, and playing, the first project I want to talk about is traffic calming work. There was quite a bit of traffic calming this year. We expanded the locations in the North Side neighborhood where there are speed humps. And we did some new projects on streets like Greenleaf and Winchell, where we are piloting narrowing of the travel lanes to, a size that is appropriate for a residential street, and adding bike lanes or on-street shared use paths. West Nedjam Park is another location where we start to do some traffic calming work. We did some implementation with crosswalks and street signage in the North Side neighborhood. We'll repeat that next year in Vine, and then everywhere from Crosstown at the south end of Vine to Dunkley at the north end of the North Side neighborhood and the city limits. We're going to be looking at adding a bike lane and on-street parking and right-sizing the travel lanes again to help slow speeds along that street. Director Baker talked about the lead service line replacement program and was unable to click on that link, but I do have some information here for you. 773 lead service lines replaced in 2021. At this point in the year, you can kind of see the bar graph there. Over the last couple of years, the increase in this work. And I believe the date that Director Baker gave was 2037 to have all of those complete. But this is something that we'll hear about each year in our, the goal is to replace at least 500 each year. There's also lead paint remediation work that the community investment team is working on. And this year, 15 homes had lead paint that was remediated. This was a process that residents could apply for if there were children in the home, whether it was full-time or daycare after school kind of care program. And so 15 homes were able to have their lead paint remediated in 2021. Shared prosperity goal, abundant opportunities for all people to prosper. Some great programs here. The STEAM Academy, which was a part of the Eastside Youth Strong Summer Program, provided high quality education and resources this year. We had the Parent Literacy Together program, which is a multi-generational learning program. And in youth development, a city with places and supports that help youth thrive. We had our Youth Action Council that had 13 Kalamazoo youth participate, and those individuals worked with Kalamazoo Parks programs and plans to help guide the work of city staff. Superrac was successful again this year. 248 youth were served. There was free drop-off summer camp. There were 5 neighborhood sites. There were field trips, activities, and reading programs, and a partnership with meals provided through KPS with the Meetup and Eat Up program. For slightly older kids, there were many opportunities for teens. 28 Kalamazoo teens participated as counselors in training at the Superrac camps. 139 teens participated in the My City Kalamazoo program, and 28 participated in All Things Possible. Inviting public places, parks, art, culture, and vibrant streets. Farmers market renovations are underway and will be completed in spring of 2022. Which is pretty exciting. I know everyone's kind of been watching that project, and we had the farmers market temporarily moved this year over to Mayor's Riverfront Park, but this project should be completed this spring, and we'll be able to move the farmers market back to this location. So what does that mean looking forward, right? So we have done quite a few projects, and we have several that are related that are kind of in progress. And so in progress things again include the farmers market, the sustainability strategy, which you heard Jamie McCarthy give a presentation on at our last meeting. That document is wrapping up and will be officially released in early 2022. We were able to submit grant applications this year for a future year project for Safe Routes to School. The youth master plan will be completed early next year, and the Lacrone Park splash pad is scheduled to be done in 2022. Of course, a lot of this work would not be possible without support from the Foundation for Excellence. And, since its inception, 2017, $52.7 million have been invested in aspirational projects, with about 8.5 of that invested this year. And so that is the information that I wanted to share with you. I am happy to answer any questions that you have, but I thought that Commissioner Milliken his words after Director Baker's presentation were very thoughtful, right? As keepers of the master plan, it's your job to think about, the plans and the projects that come before you, from, tiny, 1 or 2 lot rezonings to the larger things that staff brings to you, and how they all tie back to the work that's in the master plan. And this is just a snippet of work that either you touched as plan commissioners, or that were involved with other boards and commissions and city staff. So, it's always good to have this reminder and ground yourself of the work, and that, this board and all the boards do make a difference and do help move the community's vision forward.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. Are there any questions? And just jump in and shout them out, because I can't see everyone's faces, and you don't need to
Okay.
close your
Thank you.
screen.
It's not really a question. I just wanted to say that presentations like that are just very exciting to me, and I love to see it. It's wonderful to see just a brief review of all these things that are going on directly out of the plan, and all the great statistics on all the progress, and how it links the day-to-day to the higher goals. It's just exciting and wonderful, and it's great to see everything being done. And I'm happy to be a part of the next stages in all this. I haven't had anything to do with it up to this point, but it's very impressive to see what's been done and what goals have been set and all the progress being made. Thank you all so much.
Awesome. Any other questions, comments?
I do. I just have a comment. I just also want to piggyback off of David as well. I wanted to say, like, this, seeing this, like, being on planning commission for as long as I've been, and seeing all the greatness happen with our Imagine Kalamazoo and seeing the growth, I'm really excited. And then I also had residents that did use the tire program, and they really loved being able to do that. And I hope that we can in the future do that again, because I think that was definitely something good for our environment, and just to get people to, think about recycling on even levels like that. And I thought that was cool. And I can't wait to see the new projects and the new sidewalks and everything coming together.
I think that's a good program to bring out. I traditionally, we think of the master plan as land use only and transportation only. And that is certainly where ours is rooted. But when you brought into the strategic vision goals and the work we're trying to accomplish in the city, it touches a lot of different areas. And you all may be very familiar with the transportation and land use work. But there are a lot of other activities that are going on that originated through Imagine Kalamazoo.
What other questions or comments? I just want to say thank you for bringing this forward. It's, as you said, it's rare for a city to celebrate anniversaries like this, and hell, it's rare for anybody to take a minute and look backwards and say, what have we accomplished? What have we done well? And so to just take a moment and reflect on those positive things is so needed right now. It's been a rough day. So it was nice to just spend a minute and look at those positive elements from the small to the big, and that was great. So thank you, and I'm very thankful you're sharing that with the City Commission as well. Good work. What else we got?
So you all have in your packets a copy of the site plan list. So as always, if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask us today, or we can save them and ask, you can retransmit them to us and we can ask Bobby Durkee specific questions as the site plan manager. Commissioner Praedel was in attendance earlier. He did have to hop off for an event, but he gave me something to read. So if I'm a little out of order, but if you don't mind, I'll just read it right now. So hold on, me 1 second. Let me pull it up. Good evening, planning commissioners. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving and your holiday season is off to a great start. I apologize for needing to hop off tonight's virtual meeting early before the comment period due to a work commitment for my day job. Here are a few updates to share. The city administration officially transmitted the proposed $245.2 million fiscal year budget, 2022 budget to us this week. This is also open and accessible to the public. You can view and download it, kalamazoocity.org/budgets. This budget is 14.62% more than the adopted fiscal year 2021 budget. There will be a virtual work session for City Commission and the public on Monday, December 13th. The time is not yet set, but will likely be 6 p.m. The budget vote will likely not occur. The budget vote will actually not occur until late January, or early February. At our next committee of the whole, or COW meeting, which is going to happen this coming Monday, December 6th at 5 p.m., we hear about the proposed environmental sustainability plan and our water system. This is also available for virtual viewing on the city's Facebook and YouTube channels. At our regular business meeting that evening, we will consider an emergency housing ordinance, which would take effect immediately and run for a determined period of time. There was a presentation on this at the last committee of the whole meeting, which was November 15th. That recording is available for viewing. Information on the draft ordinance and a copy of the presentation that was given on November 15th are available off the city's website. Our last virtual meeting will be held on December 20th. We are likely to return in person at our first meeting in January. Wishing you all a very happy holiday. I look forward to seeing you again in 2022. And that is the end of his comments. And I have nothing further unless you all have questions on anything from Commissioner Praedel's email or anything else that's related to planning work.
No, you did include the meeting schedule for 2022. Is there anything you need from us on that?
At some point, we do need to approve it. We don't necessarily have, we can do that tonight, but we want to make sure that everyone is okay with the dates at a minimum. And so we can officially publish that as our calendar for next year. So take a look at it, and if there are any red flags for dates, they often fall around holidays. Although with a quick glance, it seemed that they were a little more removed from some of the holidays that we've struggled with over the last couple of years. But if you have concerns on the schedule now or shortly, in the coming weeks would be a good time to let us know that.
Yeah, it does look pretty good. We got the Thursday before Labor Day weekend, so that's not terrible. And then who knows? I have no idea when spring break is. April 7th.
I think that is actually after spring break this year. It's a little bit early. I think that is the first week that we are back at school for KPS.
You're right. Yep. I do. In fact, I do know when spring break is, and you are correct. Good. Any comments or concerns on the schedule that we need to change? Right. And we'll go forth with that. We done with reports? Then we'll move on to public comments. Are there any public comments left tonight?
Yes, we have one public comment, and I will get that queued up for you here momentarily.
Excellent.
My name is Tina. I live on Lake Street. I am calling. You're talking about all these improvements. Would you please finally fix your infrastructure in Southtown neighborhood, which is Lake to Burdick, Stockbridge, Crosstown, both John Streets, both ways, Jasper, Walter, you know all the areas that flood. You know, we flood, your sewer backs up in our homes and on our streets. Why isn't this problem being addressed? We've been asking for you to fix your infrastructure in the flooding areas since 2017. You know, Southtown neighborhood does exist. There is a sign that says Southtown neighborhood. And Southtown neighborhood goes all the way down Stockbridge to almost to Bank Street. And then it goes all the way down to Vine Street. Southtown neighborhood isn't a neighborhood. Crosstown Parkway, you had a sinkhole. Is that what you're going to wait for it to happen before you finally fix something? We are asking you, fix your infrastructure. Now we hear you want to put a pod city in a neighborhood that's already failing. Your infrastructure is failing your residents and your homeowners, and you're not even telling anybody about it. You know, this extra sewage is what we're going to get in our streets and in our homes because your infrastructure is so bad over here in our neighborhood that we get backups 2 to 3 times every single year. And no homeowner, no resident of Kalamazoo should have to live like this. You wouldn't want this happening to your home that you've worked hard for and you've lived in all your life. I've been in my home 36 years. I am from Kalamazoo. I have never left Kalamazoo. Kalamazoo used to be a really nice place to live. Used to be a really safe place to live. It's not safe anymore. The flooding, the shootings, all you're doing is building, but you're not fixing the problems. You know, I remember when the city used to fix problems. You know, I have relatives that worked for the cities for years, and they'd fix the streets. They'd patch them. They'd be out all day long patching them. If you had a sewer backup, that was taken care of right away. And not just in the wealthier neighborhoods. It was taken care of in the poorer neighborhoods, too. Because the city used to care about their residents and talk to, please fix your sewers in Southtown neighborhoods so we don't get your back pressure, backflow from your sewers. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, that is the end of public comments.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. We've had city commission comments. And so, I think, take this to page 2. Can't flip to. Planning commissioner comments. Last chance of the year. Any planning commissioner comments? I'll just go around the table. Mr. Burgess. And you can say no. No pressure. Nope. Ms. Phelps? For your cat? No. All right. Mr. Harrison. Yes.
Just moving forward, especially after the public comments, that moving into 2022, that we develop a process or maybe just some consideration on how to incorporate more community involvement to what we do, especially during these COVID kind of constricted environments, on top of us going back to kind of in-person meetings. So whatever that needs to look like for us individually as commissioners, I think that should be our conversation, and I'm more than open to, but also that, like, I think that should be a conversation collectively, is like, how do we make sure that we incorporate for all our future movements, that our community feels connected and not disconnected to these activities, especially in 2022.
Great. Thank you. Ms. Telco? No. Ms. Chambers?
Oh, I just had to take myself off mute. The only thing I would say is that I hope in January that we can come back to the dais and be in City Hall. I would feel more connected with especially a lot of our newer commissioners, so you could see how the work is and get a feel for when residents are actually there, being able to talk to them, touch them, and being able to really hear concerns, because sometimes we don't always hear all the concerns because a lot of our residents don't always know how to use Zoom, or sometimes they may not, they may forget to call in. And I hope that in January that we can all be together so that we can be on the dais and be able to bond and be able to like do work like together, face to face, and to be able to see each other face to face. So I'm excited for next year. I hope that that can happen, even following the protocols, making sure that everybody is safe and that we're able to see our residents and able to help push forward and to make goals, and also make sure that we're listening to residents, that their concerns are heard, and that we move forward to a bigger and better Kalamazoo. And I thank you guys. I hope you guys all have a great new year.
Excellent. Ms. Swan? Mr. Pitts? All right. I'll just say, happy holidays, everybody. Happy New Year. Enjoy if you get a break, enjoy the break. And we'll see you in January. See you in person. We'll have to bring some cookies or something. And that will be very nice to have some discussion and some back and forth like that. I hope everybody makes good choices. Everybody, in general, people just make good choices, and we'll all be better off in 2022. With that, our agenda is done. Our meeting is adjourned. Have a great day, everybody. Be well.
Good night.
Bye.